And it from three. Hull comes soaring in again. Just uncanny knack. And cashes in.
Is on the upper left wing. Just got inside, circles around, pure.
Okay, let's just be honest. Game 3 wasn't even basketball, it was a full-blown daylight robbery. The Indiana Fever were absolutely leading. They were fighting for every single possession, and then out of nowhere, a barrage of whistles just ripped the game right from their hands. Suddenly, the Las Vegas Aces are practically living at the foul line. A'ja Wilson is throwing elbows like it's a mosh pit, and Aaliyah Boston can't even get a fair challenge recognized. Seriously, everyone at Gainbridge saw it, social media blew up about it, and the box score, it screams proof. The Aces didn't outplay the Fever, they were straight up handed that win. And the most infuriating part, all that drama completely overshadowed Lexi Hull's gritty career-defining performance. So, do you honestly think the Fever can bounce back from this? If you're with them, comment "Let's go Fever" down below.
A'ja Wilson sets a screen where she extends her leg out, but of course they call the foul on Lexi Hull for A'ja Wilson's illegal screen. Then A'ja Wilson and Alyssa Smith totally foul Michaela Timpson, but there is no call. Could have took a 1-point lead going into half. Now we're up by 3 and they call a foul that isn't a foul. So we don't get calls when we're getting hit, but the Aces get a call when nobody.
Look, nobody's sugarcoating it. Game 3 was ugly, but let's be real. This wasn't the first time Indiana felt like they were fighting two teams at once. From the absolute jump of this series, the officiating has been leaning harder towards Las Vegas than a crutch, completely throwing the entire balance of competition into chaos. Remember Game 1? Everyone saw it. Vegas tried to claw their way back, not with incredible plays, but by practically living at the free throw line, while Indiana's physical aggressive defense was somehow treated like a completely different sport. The Fever would stand tall, body up defensively, and yet, somehow, those possessions always finished with the Aces shooting free throws. That didn't just set a tone, it cemented a pattern. By the time Game 2 rolled around, that pattern had grown even louder, and the calls felt more and more outrageously one-sided.
Steph, why don't you think you were able to find any flow, and when that was the case, what are you trying to do to jumpstart things, maybe on the defense?
Well, it's hard for us to find flow when there's a foul call every 10 seconds. I mean, it just really is. And when they're at the free throw line, we can't get up and down the floor, and that's a challenge. They were much more aggressive and physical defensively, we didn't counter that with our off-ball actions or with our back cuts. So they took us out of our comfort zone. I mean, offense is about rhythm, it's about timing, it's about spacing. We allowed them to do that, and they kept us from doing it.
Then in Game 2, the whistles literally piled up every single quarter. What started as just small frustrations quickly snowballed into this steady, suffocating drag on Indiana's rhythm, forcing Coach Stephanie White to actually call it out post-game. But by it wasn't just a pattern anymore, it became this towering, impossible wall the Fever simply couldn't climb. The absolute nightmare sequence came in the third quarter when Aaliyah Boston tried to challenge a foul call on Jackie Young. Coach Stephanie White was there, motioning for the review. The entire bench was ready, buzzing with anticipation, but the officials, they wouldn't even acknowledge it, not a glance. Seconds later, Chelsea Gray buried a 3, and just like that, the crowd went from roaring with electric energy to literally gasping in utter disbelief as Indy's hard-earned lead just vanished.
A'ja Wilson is 1 for 12 as a foul is called on Boston, and that will be number 2 on Aaliyah Boston.
You saw Indiana picking up full court pressure defensively, and if you're Aaliyah Boston, that's the one spot on the floor you do not want to get a foul called.
And Stephanie White is trying to challenge it and did not call the timeout in time. Gray in the corner.
This wasn't just about the scoreboard swinging, it was about the chilling message it sent. The Fever had played hard enough. earned enough separation, and then in a literal blink, all that gut-wrenching work was just obliterated by whistles and yet another Vegas bucket. Fans inside Gainbridge absolutely exploded, waving their arms, screaming their lungs out at refs who just seemed to casually shrug it all off. And get this, clips of that entire outrageous exchange went viral online almost instantly, with breakdowns meticulously highlighting how that completely ignored challenge basically shifted the entire game in just one possession. What's even crazier, those very same videos showcased a relentless string of flops, cheap pushes, and constant blatant elbows from the aces that barely drew a glance from the officials.
2-minute recap from last night. So A'ja Wilson pushes Howard in the back. Howard pushes her in the back. It's a foul on Howard. Look at this. Aaliyah Boston gets totally fouled by Nalissa Smith. Like, it's obvious, but no call. And then A'ja Wilson gets the call for not half as much. And then Nalissa Smith gets the call for not even getting touched. Here's a replay just to prove it to you. Yep, didn't get touched.
That's the part that...
Honestly, it made the whole thing feel less like an oversight and way more like an open favor. A'ja Wilson could literally throw her shoulder into Boston. Fever defenders were being tossed onto the court like rag dolls without a single whistle, and flailing arms somehow became defense, but only if you were rocking a Vegas jersey. Meanwhile, every single bit of contact from Indiana was treated like a full-blown crime scene. The result we saw, that wasn't momentum created by raw talent or superior play. Oh no, it was momentum quite literally handed over, gift-wrapped by referees holding their whistles like weapons.
Offensive foul, practically a football check, and the Aces score. So now the Aces cut it to 2, and then A'ja Wilson sets an illegal screen, and they tied things up. And then Lexi Hull gets called for a foul for doing nothing when they just had 2 illegal screens they didn't call. All right, so this is fair. Same thing happens on the other side, but they don't call a foul for Kelsey Mitchell. So Leah Boston gets called for this foul for getting her arm grabbed, but Stephanie White can't challenge. They won't let her. That's the second time this game they didn't let her have her challenge. And then A'ja Wilson starts acting like a big baby.
And while
that kind of injustice might have completely crushed the morale of a lesser group, one Fever player decided this game would not just be about bad calls. Lexi Hull made sure of it. I mean, how often do you see a player who probably shouldn't even be on the court nearly change the entire direction of a playoff series? That's exactly what made Lexi Hull the real, undeniable headline of Game 3. She wasn't even supposed to be out there at all. After aggravating her back in the opening game of this series, she came into Friday listed as questionable. Practice was super limited. Her movements looked stiff, even in warm-ups. And let's be honest, you could tell fans weren't exactly expecting much. But instead of just logging a few cautious minutes to give her teammates a breather, Hull turned her night into something absolutely unforgettable. Something Fever fans will be talking about long after this series ends.
Boston has the mismatch on Lloyd. Help comes. Kick out. Hull will fire. And hit from 3. Last 2 positions inside from Indiana. Smith tied up by Hull.
She played through visible, agonizing pain, yet somehow still put together a box score that looked like it belonged to a completely healthy dominant star. We're talking 16 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal. And she did it while shooting an incredible 6 of 10 from the field, including 3 crucial triples that felt like absolute lifelines every single time Vegas tried to edge in front. What's even crazier, those 3-pointers mattered even more because they tied her with a franchise playoff mark across just 2 games, 8 total. That is not something many would have predicted from her, especially coming off a questionable injury report. And yeah, she scored her playoff career high with 16 points during Game 3 against the Aces. But what was truly impressive wasn't just the numbers, it was how she earned every single one of them. Every loose ball, every scrambled rebound, she literally seemed to throw her entire body into plays that most injured players would, quite frankly, completely avoid.
On the left side of the floor, just a clear out, letting Jackie Young go to work.
Jackie Young with 17 points. Boston to the corner. Hull, catch, fire, and hit. Correct call. Evans dishes. Ray whips a pass inside. What a denial from Lexi Hull.
The Hull able to save the play.
12-point game, a little under 2.5 to go. Hull hits Indiana's first field goal.
There were so many moments when the camera caught her face visibly twisted with discomfort, yet she still relentlessly boxed out much larger frontline players and chased down rebounds that, by all rights, should have gone to taller aces. We saw her diving onto the hardwood, wrestling fiercely for boards. And then, somehow, she'd gather herself, shake off the pain, and calmly knock down crucial shots. Every single time the officiating tried to deflate the Fever, Hull gave them these incredible bursts of life. Even when the aces were being ridiculously rewarded at the free throw line, Hull gave Indiana a genuine chance to fight back, simply by refusing to let possessions die. That's why the crowd connected with her so powerfully. Fever fans knew exactly what they were watching. A player putting her entire body, her career, her very well-being on the line because her team desperately needed her.
Eddie, back to Hull. Wide open three is good.
The floor that she wants, doesn't it?
It does. Mitchell, connect. Here's Mitchell. Mitchell, one more. You bet!
And honestly, that's what makes the entire night feel so utterly wrong. On the very same night, Lexi Hull gave Indiana her best playoff game ever. All anyone could talk about were the infuriating whistles that literally turned the scoreboard upside down. That kind of monumental effort deserved the absolute spotlight, but instead, it got tragically buried under this mountain of controversy. Maybe that's why Hull feels like the perfect, heartbreaking representation of this Fever squad. Constantly beaten down, perpetually underestimated, but absolutely refusing to give in. And if she was the picture of pure grit, then what in the world does it say about Vegas that their biggest, most celebrated star barely showed up at all? I mean, seriously, imagine being the face of the league, an MVP candidate, and going nearly 3 full quarters without hitting a single basket. Yep, that was A'ja Wilson in Game 3. She opened the night with a three-pointer that looked like a preview of dominance, but then the shots just stopped falling. By halftime, she was an astonishing 1-for-1 from the field, eventually finishing the entire night at a dismal 6. That's 13 points on 20 attempts, which isn't just subpar by her own stratospheric standards, it's flat out bad for any starter in the WN. Instead of bullying inside the paint or setting that dominant tone she's known for, she drifted outward, settled for contested fadeaways, and looked visibly frustrated as Aaliyah Boston over and over again forced her into incredibly uncomfortable shots.
And then here we go. She gets a foul call with a 3-point game for, I don't know why they called that foul, but it's the third quarter and they want them to win. So here we go. Ace is up by 3. They call another foul for A'ja Wilson that isn't a foul. All right, so then they call another foul on the Fever that isn't a foul. And then to end the game after it's out of control because the Fever had a 6-point lead, but they kept calling fouls, another foul for A'ja Wilson that's not a foul. Ball don't lie, A'ja. You missed 11 shots in a row during this game.
Despite all of A'ja Wilson's struggles, Vegas still walked away winners, and honestly, that's the part that truly grates on fans. The Aces didn't even need A'ja to play like her dominant self because, let's face it, everything else just kept breaking their way, whether it was through those biased whistles or simply her teammates stepping up. Jackie Young absolutely carried them with 25 points, nailing critical momentum-shifting shots every time the Fever tried to claw back. Chelsea Gray added a steady 15, hitting both jumpers and tough lay-ins whenever the offense stalled. And even Nalissa Smith, who we've seen struggle with inconsistency over stretches this season, suddenly stepped up, making crucial plays on both ends that completely stacked up right when the Aces desperately needed them. So, while their supposed superstar was audibly clanking shot after shot, everyone else magically pieced together enough baskets to ride the benefit of officiating straight back into control. But what truly adds insult to all of this is the way the media covered it. Wilson's box score tells a crystal clear story of struggle, yet plenty of outlets either padded the narrative with her all-around impact, a few rebounds, blocks, some assists, or completely shifted praise to the Aces' depth. What got completely lost in translation, the real reason she was so ineffective in the first place, Aaliyah Boston was absolutely hounding her every single possession, denying any easy space and forcing her into the types of awkward contested shots that make efficiency utterly impossible. When a league MVP shoots a dismal 30% on 20 attempts, that's more than just an off night, that's elite one-on-one defense from Aaliyah Boston that deserves massive recognition.
Here's Hull. Working behind Boston. Boston was open. Great fake, and Boston lays it in.
Now, at the very same time, Wilson did manage to affect the game physically, just not in ways that earned any respect whatsoever. We're talking blatant elbows underneath, deliberate undercuts on box outs, and long arms carelessly thrown into Indiana players, incidents that almost never drew a whistle. And surprise, surprise, the Aces just kept benefiting. What's even wilder, Becky Hammon, their coach, actually complained afterward that Wilson got hit too often, pointing out her single free throw attempt in 38 minutes. But the humor in that is ridiculously simple. This is the exact same Vegas team that practically lived at the foul line across all 3 games. When you're racking up more freebies than your opponent all series long, then crying about calls just rings completely hollow. It's laughable.
Thought she got hit a lot tonight. To shoot 1 free throw in 38 minutes. I know they told me not to say anything, but I can't.
The undeniable truth is, Indiana absolutely bottled up A'ja Wilson. They did the exact job you're supposed to do against the league's best player, and yet they still ended up losing because those whistles conveniently softened the blow. And you know what? That's what makes the Aces win feel so utterly empty. Instead of their star showcasing why she's truly the best, she was basically saved by the officiating and her teammates who constantly bailed her out. That's not a statement victory, it's a protected escape. And now, all eyes are turning squarely toward Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where Indiana has one final desperate shot to flip this entire poison narrative. Sunday at Gainbridge isn't just another playoff game. For the Fever, it is absolute survival. Game 4 is their last chance to prove they truly belong against a franchise that has, let's be honest, been gifted every single break along the way. Down 2-1, already beaten up by injuries, and now forced to overcome more than just their opponent on the floor. The Fever enter knowing that one single loss means their season is over. That sharp, brutal contrast sets up a night where truly everything is stacked against Indiana.
Sims, hoist, short. Look at Hull coming screaming in for the rebound. Boston trying to body Wilson, and does. Sims back to Boston, going back to work and dropping it in. An aggressive and effective.
And just as we expected, Becky Hammon has already started setting the stage, complaining about physicality from the Fever and suddenly raising concerns that officiating might actually bend toward the home team this time. Now think about that incredible irony. Okay, after 3 brutal games where calls fell almost exclusively for Vegas, now the coach of the 2-time champions is sounding like she's bracing for whistles to finally even out. What does that tell you? It screams how comfortable the Aces have become with perpetually favorable conditions, and just how much pressure they truly feel walking into Gainbridge, knowing the crowd will absolutely not sit silently through another repeat of Game 3. Because let me tell you, Gainbridge will not be quiet. 17,000 passionate Indiana fans are expected to pack that building, and they are going to make every single possession for Las Vegas utterly miserable. It's not just noise, it's a roaring wall of energy. When the Fever gets a stop, when Boston scores inside, when Hull hits a 3, that building transforms into a storm the Aces simply haven't handled well this season. Even Hammon herself admitted Vegas hasn't enjoyed playing here. That right there is the biggest weapon Indiana has, turn that arena into pure unadulterated fuel and challenge Vegas to survive outside of their officiating help.
Here's Boston, back to Hull. Sets herself up, Mitchell is free, laying it in. Been a while since Mitchell has gotten a shot attempt. Mitchell will get one here, and hit.
The Fever's plan for Game 4 is no secret, and it's crystal clear. They need to push the tempo right away, get Aaliyah Boston touches down low, and relentlessly force Asia Wilson to defend without those convenient bailouts at the free throw line. They absolutely have to establish Kelsey Mitchell early, especially after her rough Game 3, because her scoring stretches are the fundamental difference between simply trading baskets and actually building significant leads. And Hull, her heroic performance last time out, cannot just be an outlier. She's playing through injury, yes, but she became the absolute heartbeat for this team. Carrying that momentum again would swing not just the scoreboard, but the entire spirit of the roster. Now, even as champions, Vegas has cracked. Wilson's confidence looks visibly thin after being so effectively locked down. Jackie Young is clearly carrying way too much of the offensive load, and their depth, which looks perfectly fine at home, simply hasn't faced a playoff environment like Gainbridge at full, roaring volume. If Indiana attacks those weak points strategically, this entire series shifts dramatically. Game 4 isn't just about survival only, it's about sending a powerful message for what's truly coming next season, when Caitlin Clark returns and this Fever core grows even sharper.
On this first half, Young attacking and denied. Timpson on the block. Hull needs some help. Dump it in Boston. Find the cutter. Timpson lays it in.
Let's be unequivocally clear. The Fever didn't lose Game 3. They had it brutally stolen. Indiana built a legitimate lead, played incredibly strong defense, and then watched in disbelief as the refs systematically turned the game into a buffet of free points for Las Vegas. That's not basketball, folks. That is pure unadulterated interference. Game 4 is now bigger than just survival. It's about exposing just how hollow those Aces wins really look when the whistles don't bail them out. If Lexi Hull fights through that pain again, if Kelsey Mitchell heats up, if Aaliyah Boston keeps punishing Asia Wilson inside, Gainbridge can and will erupt into absolute chaos. Add 17,000 screaming fans to that mix, and this entire series shifts. Trust me, Indiana's season isn't finished. It's just about to get deafeningly louder. So do you truly think the Fever can bounce back from this? If yes, then make sure you comment, "Let's go Fever" right now. Like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out on what happens next. And hey, click the video on your screen right now, and we'll catch you in the next one.